Hello, Tuba Hero 37 here. In my last video, I was a little bit upset about the announcement of double goblins for the rest of the season because I thought it's really late in the season. We really want to be getting to the end, so why would you add a double goblin buff and then right away turn around and announce a PTR and the end of season? It didn't seem to make a lot of sense, but it turns out that's exactly what they did. So this is a little over a week after that. They announced the PTR is coming up this Thursday. So in the rest of this video, I'd like to talk about what I did last week after that bad news, my plans for the rest of this Diablo season. I do want to finish hard, as well as my thoughts on that PTR coming up. So I pushed really hard on Sunday a couple weeks ago to get to 4,000 Paragon. Well, it wasn't that hard on Sunday, to be honest. I prepped it up pretty well so that I only needed 20 Paragon that day to hit 4K. I got 26 total playing most of the day. So, good day. Then the next day, I started off pretty strong. I wanted to, keep grinding the Paragon, then heard about the mid-season buff, and that took a lot of the wind out of my sails. So, the rest of that week, pretty much up until now, I was just kind of putting in just a modicum of getting Paragon, like get 5 a day or 1 a day some days. I'd want to at least make some progress, like even if it was just gaining 5 main stats, like, well, I did something. I didn't just let the account die. I didn't gain that much Paragon since hitting 4K, but I think that's okay. Like, I don't know if I only gained 54 in this time period instead of gaining 100, maybe 120. I don't think that's going to impact my final pushes. But basically, I started playing on EU hardcore. I think I leveled to 70 solo. I got really lucky with some stuff, so I was actually able to play Barb with clone leveling on hardcore because I got Band of Might early, so that was kind of fun. And the plan on EU is not to do the exact same things I'm doing on NA. So I'm going to be pushing Frenzy Barb on EU hardcore, pushing Impale. And I was thinking of doing Sling Monk, but now that I want to focus more back on my main account, I think I'm just going to cap it at that. Probably not even AUG everything up. Probably just put in minimal hours. But I'm also grouping a little bit there. So I've been playing with a streamer Annoy, a streamer KO, and some people in their stream sometimes. And that's been a lot of fun. I've just been doing Z-Barb for their speeds. And that's been like nice and efficient. And then they can feed me Demon Hunter gear, which is good for gearing out my Impale. So on that account, I'm up to 1,080 Paragon. I don't know if... Okay, I am on the leaderboard, I guess. I've cleared a 112 with the Frenzy Barb, but that was a while ago. I got a lot better stuff now. I could go higher. And the Impale, I haven't really pushed yet. This was with absolute garbage gear that I did the 106 and 826. I'd like to clear... I don't know, maybe 120 with it, but that might be ambitious if I'm not able to fully AUG it. And I think I could get decent gear very, very quickly just because of how speed farming and gearing works in this game. It doesn't take long to get good gear if you're actually playing the class and you're doing really quick GRs. But yeah, I want to push some Impale, I want to push some Frenzy sometime this season with minimal time investment so I can still stay focused on my main account. So the rest of my season on NA is going to focus not on grinding more Paragon necessarily. Mostly it's going to focus on finishing leveling the AUGs I've already started leveling. So right here you see these 30 AUG gems. I think that is the whole of ones I've already started, unless you count like Gem of Ease, which I always consider like I can level this up because I could use it as an AUG at the end of the season. But anyway, I don't even think I could use all these 30, but I'm going to get them all into the 130s range, maybe 135 if I'm feeling it, maybe not. But basically get them to the point that I would be very comfortable if I find a upgrade on my push build to throw them onto that, or more likely, like the main reason I was trying to always have extra AUGs is if I say rip my monk while pushing, then I have a full backup set just as strong to throw on the pretty much backup set just as strong gear and keep pushing. So I think we're in a great place with AUGs. I just want to get them up to higher levels. That'll get me a little bit more XP. Right now I'm at 4065. Easily can get this to 4100. But I don't think I'm going to make a focus like I want to get to 4,200 by so-and-so time. I think I'm going to focus, the main pull is going to be the key farming and just finishing leveling these AUGs. If I were to do any kind of Paragon farming, maybe I would do it in such a way that's like not the most efficient Paragon wise, but I could also get 1%ers out on my main gems. But I don't think I'm going to focus on Paragon farming. So key farming wise, I've had a few big fish sessions recently that were fruitless, but so many close calls. So after farming some keys recently, I'm only up to 403. So my plan going forward is to every day get at least end the day plus 200 keys. So I'm thinking in a couple weeks, maybe have like 3,000 plus keys. At any given point, like when they do the 2-week warning, I could probably burn 3,000 keys in a week of doing lots and lots of fishing. So I want to have at least 3,000 keys because I don't mind going back in the middle of fishing and farming some more keys. But this way I'm just like set up to not feel like when I'm fishing, like, oh, I'm going to run out of keys. I want to just not have that be a concern at all. So that's going to be the bulk of what I'm farming is actually keys for more and more fishing because that ultimately is what gets you the high clears a lot more than having a few percent more on your main stat is just being able to get a GR, like for instance for Demon Hunter, a GR that has missile dampening on every floor. I actually had one of those in a speed yesterday. I was doing, I think it was 126, and floor 1 was Blazing Guardians, and there was a missile dampening and a conduit, and I was like, that might have been the same thing if I was pushing, because I wouldn't have killed anything. I would have just skipped through the floor and then seen the missile dampening, then start pulling elites and some stuff towards it, potentially killing enough stuff to spawn the conduit, and now I'm definitely killing like every elite on that floor. And then the next floor was actually a great floor. It was a good layout, Festering Woods with Zombie Grotesque, and it had a missile dampening as well. So like there's a very slight chance I would have just walked out when I saw the Blazing Guardians, but usually on GOD, if anybody saw me stream that push session recently, I run through big floors, even with bad mob types, just looking for missile dampening. So I think if that had been my 145, I would have played it, and I might have cleared it even, assuming I actually somehow saved the power that was on the same floor as the, bad mobs and stuff. That could have been a potential clear. But it's possible to get that again, if I just keep fishing. Leaderboard-wise, they're pretty much the same as they have been for a while. The top clear on Barb is still 143. This was done back in January. I guess not that long ago. It just feels like a long time ago because everything feels like a long time now. If I spend a lot of this key farm time on my Barb and then find a few more upgrades, maybe I could go for 144, but it seems out of my league, most likely. So that leaves Demon Hunter and Monk. So Monk seems the most in my league. Right now, I could clear a 143. I've been able to clear 143 for a while. Like, I had the damage. Just, it's always risky. It's always frustrating because of the Shenlongs. And it needs a lot of keys because you can't really skip floors. You're too slow on, like, GOD. So that means that you have to have, like, the first 2 floors be really good. And you really need a really good conduit because flavor of time pushing. So, just get all that to line up and you're done. But that's also assuming a good boss too, because I think you get Hamlin and you're screwed. You get Vesalius and you're screwed. So mostly a nice single target boss would be great. Anyway, Demon Hunter, it looks like I'm really far away because somebody just cleared a 150 2 days ago. So it's like, oh man, that's still 6 tiers away. It's so hard to clear 145, but really it's not. It's like every tier is pretty much the same. Just get missile dampening everywhere and you're good. So if I had got the keys and the time and the will, I think I could clear 150. I might, get to 145, 146. Like, I've definitely almost cleared a bunch of 145s now, but I might get to 147 and think, okay, I was really wrong on that. Nothing's dying at all anymore unless I have missile dampening. This was a mistake. But, I've still got the hope because it's been hard to clear GRs since like 140, and my damage hasn't improved that much, but it's never really felt like, oh, this tier is impossible. Like, that just hasn't been a thing. So yeah, this person has... they're probably going to have 1,500 main stat on me, but I don't think that's the more important part. I think just fishing is the more important part. And then conduit isn't that vital, but having power for boss I think is going to be absolutely vital because it already takes me a very long time, close to 5 minutes without power. So imagine the boss is now twice as healthy, because I've been fishing 145s, so a 150 boss is going to have twice that much HP. Stricken doesn't stack as fast as I'd like, so, or maybe the problem, for whatever reason, it's adding a giant chunk of time now as I go up in tiers. So that means that that's going to be a very long fight, and it's going to probably be mandatory to have power for the boss. All right, so I'm not going to go through the whole patch notes, because that should obviously be its own video if somebody wanted to do that, and they do exist already. I think Muggle Mama, Leviathan, and probably a ton of other people already put out videos on this. But basically, this whole next season is going to be about follower revamps. I probably won't play much of the PTR because of, my ambitious NA hardcore goals this season. If whatever I do, I'm still going to farm my keys before I do it. So even if I do spend a few hours on the PTR, I'm going to make sure I get 200 keys farmed that day plus, just to make sure that I'm still keeping on track with that. So it's going to be limited whatever playtime I have on the PTR. But basically, all followers now get cheat death, and followers can emanate some powers to you. They're mostly farming related powers like Broken Crown, Sages, Canes. So you don't have to wear those things to still get the effect of them. So like really good for T16, Rift farming. Maybe you don't have to do puzzle rings if you're just doing all your Rift farming with Broken Crown. So that's pretty cool for solo farming of Rifts. A little OP is that Flavor of Time is one of the powers. That seems like that's really going to benefit builds that couldn't normally fit that into their push build, but now they easily can. And for the ones that already did use Flavor of Time, it's like, okay, I guess you get to use Hellfire now. That's neat. And then Nemesis, that's also mixed because some builds have no issues with it, and others, like, it's a huge issue because of reflecting projectiles. So, yeah, and some already could fit in easier than others. So like free cheat deaths from followers in addition to some other skills, skill changes. Followers can now equip 14 items, which is basically the same 13 you do, and the relic. Oh, solo leaderboard reworks. So they're going to have 7 solo leaderboards for every class now. One is just the overall, and then you've got the 5 sets you can push, and then no sets. So like LOD builds probably. So for this, that means that like I could push 6 builds and show up on 7 different leaderboards. So like the altaholic in me is just thinking like, man, season 11 was the first time that I pushed. Well, it was the first season that there were 7 classes, but I pushed 14 leaderboards where I did the 7 on softcore and the 7 on hardcore just to rank 1,000, like top 1,000. And that was a good challenge. Now you could have 6 builds per class. So that's like 42 leaderboards just on one mode. And I don't know about next season, but there's definitely going to be a season where I try and do that, hit at least top 1,000 with them all. And then depending on how many people are playing, how easy that is. Like obviously I'm way better at the game now than I was in season 11, but maybe go for like top 500, top 100, top 10, like maybe try and hit. And it could depend on the builds too, because the overall one, maybe I go for top 100 and then maybe top 20 on the sets. But more likely for next season, I'm thinking keep it small, just push all boards on Monk. So you don't have to farm on other classes. You could just farm on Monk, collect really good Innas, really good Raiment, really good Sun Wuko. And the thing is, 4 of those 6 builds are going to be pushing Tempest Rush anyway. So it's like all the other items are really shared a lot. So you'll need a full different set of stuff for Juliana's and for Raiment. But there's a lot of overlap on the different Tempest Rush builds. So that's interesting. And one thing that I've never really had to think about is LOD Tempest Rush. So that's intriguing to me because with Justice, it's really easy to manage Spirit. You just always have Spirit. With Sun Wuko, it's a bit harder. If you want to be able to push Sun Wuko Tempest Rush, which I've done many times, if you want to do it with Seize the Initiative, you need a lot of resource cost reduction rolls. And Sun Wuko usually pushes with Captain Crimson, which already gives you 20%. So when you take that out of the equation, I guess you could drop Seize the Initiative, but you might need to do even more than that. and or pick up a bunch of RCR rolls. So I'm thinking with LOD, is Hexing Pants enough to replace that? If not, maybe Crudest Boots and Mystic Ally. You could do the blind Spirit Stone, and so maybe your spirit is trickling down, but then every 20 seconds you blind, and boom, you're capped again, so it doesn't really matter that you're not sustaining. So LOD has actually a lot of interesting resource management things. Maybe you could actually push that with CZ Initiative easier than you could with Sun Wuko, even though you got Captain Crimson. So that's pretty cool to like just the amount of theory crafting you could do for LOD Tempest Rush that actually has meaning because it actually has its own leaderboard. So that's pretty exciting. So I don't think I'm going to talk about Rathma or Firebird's rework. I have a lot of thoughts on them, but they could all be wrong because we just don't know how it'll actually act in practice. I think pretty much anytime that they have a new set on the PTR, or in this case a completely reworked set, I have ideas, I look at the numbers, and then it ends up playing entirely different. So, you can read them, infer for yourselves. You'll find out soon what they do. I'm glad that they're reworking them because they're both really bad sets currently, so maybe they'll come out good sets. GOD, this is another thing where reading it sounds hopefully different than it is, because this sounds terrible. Hungering Arrow pierces a maximum of 2 times while wearing Gears of the Dreadlands. So if that literally means that it, like, there's enemy 1, pierce, enemy 2, pierce, enemy 3, stop. Or, God forbid, it only, like, hits 2 enemies. That is terrible. Because you could have like 10 enemies in a row, it doesn't even get through that row. That means every shot has, about 50-50 chance of proccing area damage even one time. As it's so weak. You can't really do that for a single target skill. Like, that is just too weak. So hopefully I'm misinterpreting that. Hopefully that means that like maybe it moves through that column of enemies and then turns around 2 total times maximum. I'm hoping it doesn't mean what I think it means on the face, because if that's the case, then it should be a max of like 20, 50, some number like that, because with missile dampening, it can pierce, I don't know how many times, but a ton of times, and that's what they're trying to get rid of, is missile dampening. So this is, I think, the wrong way to do it. Maybe a different way would be, instead of changing the GOD, which is its own can of worms, because you could still Devouring Arrow, missile dampening on UE, or LOD, or NATs, or any of these other things. But anyway, so if they just put it on the skill Devouring Arrow, I was thinking the maximum of increases it by 70% per pierce to a maximum of 700% or something. So that would give it 10 pierces, and then it still can pierce, it just wouldn't deal more damage. And I don't think that would be broken at all. Even better, in my opinion, would be to reduce that by a lot. So maybe that's 140, but then you gotta buff GOD, because I guess it's still fine for speed farming, because I don't know how many times Shatter Shot currently pierces, but that's amazing for up to like GR 100 speeds for T16. So Shatter Shot, if it still pierces as much as Shatter Shot currently does, then I'd probably just use Shatter Shot instead of Devouring Arrow. But 2 times, I feel like that's piercing a lot more than 2 times. Spirit Barrage got a nerf. I couldn't figure out what the nerf was for a long time, but apparently via commas and such, this used to be the damage of Spirit Barrage is increased by 100 to 150% per Phantasm. So now it's just that flat. So it went from dealing 550% damage to doing 250% damage. So it lost over half of its damage. Other than that, it seems like it plays exactly the same. So simplify the gameplay mechanics sounds like bad wording. I think it's just reducing its damage output. So yeah, I am super excited to push a whole bunch of Monk builds next season on their own leaderboards. That sounds great. I don't think I mentioned it in the video, but they basically have confirmed there is no season theme next season. So if you want to just play non-seasonal and get all the same gameplay, you can do that. I would still play seasonal though, because I like the reset and I like those seasonal leaderboards compared to pushing against people who, now on Hardcore Americas, I've got really good Paragon, but generally, other people have more main stat than me if I just go with those, non-seasonal. Thanks for watching. See you next time.